Okay, so hopefully we have some other people join us, but let's get started. So yesterday we talked about the Africa migration theory, how we think people migrated away from Africa to other parts of the world. And then we talked about the two specific theories of how they got to the Americas, either the Bering Strait through that land bridge or underneath through the Pacific Voyager route if they voyaged across the oceans. So those are just our theories. And now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the ancient civilizations that first sprang up in the world. Let me tell you where we're going to be at, and I will show it on, let's see, you'll want to pull open, you'll want a screen split today. You'll want to have, you'll want to have what I'm showing you on one side, and then you'll want to click on right here, ancient civilizations. You'll want to click on that and have this open. On this, it has the PowerPoint that I'm going to be showing you guys. So I'll show that on my screen so you can see that on your screen, and you will have this open on the other side. So open up the assignment September 29th, Ancient Civilizations, and scroll to your assignment on the bottom, because that's where you'll be working on, and screen split so that you can see my screen on the other side. So let me know when you guys are ready to go.
I'm ready.
All right. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me explain real quick what we're going to do on your assignment. This first one is going to be done first. What this chart is basically you're going to tell me a couple things, just like one or two things about what writing is like for each of these 7 different ancient civilizations. So you could tell me, what they use. You could tell me what kind of shapes it looks like. You can tell me the name of writing. Just pick one or two things about it and write. You don't have to write down everything about their writing system. So this is where you're comparing writing. And then you can write down for the answer, once you're all done, what is the common theme among these civilizations and their writing? So what is something that you see a lot in these civilizations with their writing? And do the same thing with farming and trading. So tell me, one or two things about how they farm or trade, or what they farm or trade. And then you're going to write down for number 5, what is a common theme among these civilizations in their farming? So what's something that they all have in common with each other? And then as we go through, so you're going to be kind of going up and down and, wandering through this worksheet. You need to find 3 different things that are technology or things that are inventions that you think are impressive. So whatever it is, if I said this is an invention that they had, if you think, oh, that's really cool, then you could put that invention right here and tell me why you think it's impressive. So that's all you're doing for your assignment is this. I will tell you before we get started that there's also, if you go to the next assignment, which you can toggle back and forth between those two if you want. Oh, I just have it on here, not something that you could type on. This year's study notes, we're going to go through some of the stuff we've already gone through yesterday. Some of the stuff we're going to go through today. Some of the stuff is part of your writing, part of your assignment for the rest of the week. So this one is an assignment that you're going to do tomorrow. This one's today. This one, oh, I have the answers for you guys on here. That's really nice for you. For my in-classes, I deleted the answers, so they have to write down the answers. But you guys have the answers here for you. So that's nice for you. I forgot that I did that. So never mind. This is just a study guide of things that are going to be on your quiz that you take at the end of the week. when all this stuff is done. So just, yeah, make sure you look at that list. So again, some of the stuff was yesterday, like African migration patterns. You have to look at a map like, oh yeah, this is the migration pattern. So the African migration patterns, like, you know, where all the little arrows go. And then, yeah, it's just go through that. So anyways, this other one, this is the one that you're going to be doing today and filling out. So let's get started then. Oh, I knew it was going to start. Let's all, you know, it's a party. It's a strobe light. Nope, not anymore. Party's over. Okay, all right. Early civilizations, writing and technology. I forgot my little clicks over there. That's okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing is, this is how we talked about the early people. We have Homo habilis, who are able to make tools, you know, to hunt with, and we have humans developed from there to Homo erectus, where they could walk and they could have fire. And then they developed and evolved into Homo sapien, where now they can talk, they can have their language, they can do farming. So the hunter forager is the least complex type of society, where basically this is Homo habilis, Homo erectus, where they hunt and they gather. Just as like the hunter-gatherer, this is the least complex social structure. When they develop into being able to farm, which is what this means, I should just take that out and just put farming, but oh well, I'm just telling you. So they turn from hunter-forager or hunter-gatherer into farmers. And this is when they turn into Homo sapien, where they're able to farm and irrigate. And then when they're able to have a civilization, which is the most complex or most intricate and more details in it, that's when they evolve into Homo sapiens sapien, which is what we are today, actual humans. So they have systems and laws. You know, the thinking process and the ability of the mind has just greatly increased. So we've got Homo habilis and Homo erectus, where they just hunt and gather. Then we have Homo sapien, where they turn into farming and they start actually like growing things and staying in one place. And then Homo sapiens sapien, where they start having civilizations and laws. So one thing that civilizations have to have, and the reason why they were able to be successful, is because they need to be near lots of water. So when we answer the question, what do all these civilizations have in common? They all live near lots of water. So we've got the river system here. We've got rivers here. We've got rivers here. Ancient Greece, we've got rivers right here. Egypt, we've got rivers here. The Inca, there's lots of rivers through here, rivers here, rivers here. So anywhere you go, you need rivers, and you're able to kind of expand your area because of the rivers. You need to have lots of water. One thing that I do in my in-class kids for today is I make them carry the big, huge jug of water, and I make them carry that around the school. And they're like, okay, how do you feel now? You know, after we carry around a few times, I say, how do you feel now? And they're like, oh, I'm okay. You know, maybe a little tired. And then I say, okay, well, would you want to carry that all the way up to the tribal offices? Some kids are like, yeah, I could do that. I'll say, would you want to carry that over to the lake? And they'd say, yeah, I could do that. You know, the ones that think that they're tough. They say, yeah, I think I could do that. And then I'll just be like, what if you want to take it, you know, all the way up to the end of White Rocks up there? They're like, no. And I'm like, can you see how important it is to live near water so you don't have to carry it long distances? They're like, oh yeah. So, I mean, it makes it hugely important to live near water. Hey, who do we have? We have Johnny. Hi, Johnny. We're going through just to let you know where we're at. Let me show you where we're at. Oh, we're going through an assignment. So you're going to you're going to split your screen, and we're working on this assignment right here, September 29th, Ancient Civilizations. We're working on that one right now. The PowerPoint that I'm showing you is on that assignment, but just split your screen so that you can be typing in on this assignment paper and see the PowerPoint at the same time. So that makes it super easy. So split your screen, and then I'll try to help you know where we're supposed to be writing, you know, filling out these charts. You'll be jumping all over this paper as we go through. So that's what we're working on right now. So go ahead and split your screen so you can see my screen and the assignment at the same time. September 29th, Ancient Civilizations. Okay, let's get back to here. So here is a map of some of the ancient civilizations that we're talking about. We have the ancient China over here. We have the Indus River right here. China's easy to remember because we know China's over here. Indus, we can remember that one is right here because this is India. So Indus, India, pretty near each other. Mesopotamia is the one that's kind of like in the middle of all these seas right here. So that's Mesopotamia. Egypt is where Egypt is at. So that was right here. And then we've got Greece, which is up here where Greece is. I'm just going through all of the civilizations because your quiz will require you to identify which one is which. So this is China, this is the Indus River, this is Mesopotamia, here's Egypt, here's Greece, here's Inca, and here, actually right here, this is Aztec, but we're not quizzing on that. Right here is Maya, and that's Mississippi. So, okay, so what makes a civilization? These are things that are required to have a civilization. It needs cities, so lots of people. It needs to have a sort of government, like a country, you know, or a political structure. It needs to have, or usually it will have a religion, so some beliefs that they have. It needs to have social hierarchy, so some people have more importance or are better than others. And as unfortunate it is, that's just the way that history's always been. There has never been a civilization without social hierarchies, meaning some people are better or more important than the others. A civilization has to have writing or record keeping, and it has to have legal codes, which are basically laws. So all of these things are things that would make a civilization. If it does not have these things, it is not a civilization. It's just simply like just regular farmers who are just doing
Miss Fowler?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see my mom real quick. Hold on.
Okay, jump back on when you're back. Okay, so the first one, actually the first question on your paper is water. So what do all these civilizations have to have, or what do all civilizations have to have? They have to have water nearby. So that's the first question on your assignment on Canvas is water. They all have to live by water. Okay, so we'll go through Mesopotamia first. It's the oldest known civilization, the first one that we have proof of existing. We don't have proof of any other civilization existing before the Mesopotamian civilization. It's been written about in the Old Testament or the Bible, which if you don't read it, then, you know, just know that it was talked about in this really old religious book. And here's some, you know, things that were known to the Mesopotamian, this huge building with this building was talked about in the Bible. And then we have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which if it were still around today would be amazing. It would be incredible. I wish it were still around today. We have a few remnants of it today. This is just a computer drawing of what we think it would have looked like. Okay, I know this is kind of blurry, but just an up-close map of the Mesopotamian civilization right here. We have Egypt right here. Okay, writing. So you're going to write this in the writing section of your paper. Remember, only one or two things you need to write down. So for Mesopotamia, under that box, you're going to write one or two things about their writing. So their writing was called cuneiform. And it was used to keep track of economic trades, because when they developed farming and they decided that they needed to keep track of, where is this stuff going when they trade with each other. So they developed writing in order to keep track of when they were trading their goods that they had to each other. What the writing looks like is it's wedge-shaped writing on clay tablets, and the Sumerians, who were the name of people who were from Mesopotamia, they invented writing. So they are the ones who are credited with inventing writing. They are the first ones to write. Mesopotamians, they were known for their writing. They were also known for their irrigation because they were the first ones to develop writing and the first ones to develop irrigation. They also were the ones Sumerians, they developed the ABCs. And then the Greeks transformed it into the ABCs that we use today. But the Sumerians did it first. So here's a computer drawing of one of the tablets that we found from Mesopotamian writing. And here's an actual picture of a clay tablet used in writing. So you can see the thing that was traded. So it looks like a fish. Here's some sort of wheat or some sort of grain, right? So you can see, and you can see the dots is numbers. So they used it to keep track of what they were trading with each other. And that's what their writing was at first. So it's mostly symbols. All the early writing is mostly just symbols. And here's another picture of one of the tablets. All right, so trading and farming. So we're going to scroll down our paper to where it talks about trading and farming for Mesopotamians. So the Sumerians, or the Mesopotamians, were known to trade with the Egyptians and the Indus Valley civilizations. So they did do a lot of farming, but they did do trading as well. So I'd say that they were pretty equal amounts of farming and trading. And we're going to learn about the Silk Road, which is what this picture is about. These are basically trade routes that people used very often to go from all of these ancient civilizations to each other. So that's what those were. But like I said, for their trading and farming, they were pretty equal, farming and trading. They didn't do one more than the other. They didn't rely heavily on one over the other. So are you guys typing some things down? Are you working on these as we go? Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. I'm like, it's silent on the other end. Okay, so their invention, remember you're to have to do 3 inventions or technology things at the bottom. So there's more than 3 that I'm going to talk about, but you choose the 3 that you think are the coolest or most important. They were the Mesopotamians were the first to use irrigation. And remember, they were known for their irrigation and for their writing. First to irrigate and first to write. So it was a pretty big deal. I mean, by being able to irrigate their water away from the rivers, they were able to have a bigger civilization and provide food for more people because they could take the water further. They didn't have to carry water. It could just travel through these little irrigation canals throughout the city. So it was, this is just a drawing of what they expect it would be like. Here's some levers system that they use to pull water up or block the water. So it was a really good invention that they had. We use it, to this day with farming. So it's an awesome invention. They also invented the wheel. So the Sumerians invented the wheel in 6000 BC, and it was first made of wood. Was the first wheel, which is funny because I remember thinking a long time ago that stone, during the Stone Age, that stone was the first thing that was a wheel, but actually it was wood. It was later stone, but it was first wood before stone. Oh, I think Johnny dropped out for today. Hopefully he comes back. Okay. Have you guys ever, now this is the Codes of Hammurabi. These are laws that he had. They're pretty famous laws. I'll just talk about a couple of them. There's some typos in here. You'll just have to forgive me. If anyone steals the property, actually, I think I typed this verbatim, meaning I think I typed this word for word, but they just didn't use good English like we use today. If anyone steals the property of a template of a temple or of the court, he shall be put to death. And also the one who receives a stolen thing from him shall be put to death. So don't steal from the temple or the court. If a builder builds a house for someone and it does not construct it properly, and the house which he built falls and it kills the owner, then the builder shall be put to death. And if it kills the owner of the son that if it kills the owner, the son of the owner, then the son of the builder shall be put to death. If a man should put out the eye of another man, his eye shall be put out. And if a man knock out the teeth of his equal, his teeth shall be knocked out. So if you guys might have heard an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. It's kind of like whatever you do to me, I'm going to do to you. That's basically how Hammurabi felt. Like whatever you do to someone else, if you do a wrong to someone else, your punishment is that wrong's going to be done to you. He had a lot of rules. He had a lot, like pages and pages of rules like this. Some of them are weird, but he's the one who developed that eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth kind of thinking. All right, ancient Egypt. So moving on to ancient Egypt now. So it's built along the Nile River. They're known for their mummies and pharaohs and King Tutankhamun. We've seen a lot about Egypt in movies and stuff and pictures. So here's the top part of the Egyptian society, mostly as you can see in this green area, it's mostly the people living around the Nile River and close to the Nile River. You have some of the temples and stuff that are further away, Pyramid of Giza, the Great Sphinx. So, this is the bottom part of the Egyptian territory. So we have more temples down here. So they're known for their pyramids. The Giza pyramids, as you can see in this picture, are the most famous. Pyramids were tombs for the kings, which they called pharaohs. And yeah, there's just a picture of them. They're known for their mummies. If they could afford it, they would have themselves mummified. So it was like a wealth thing. If you were not rich, you did not have yourself mummified. And they believed that you would have a better afterlife if your body was preserved. So that's why they mummified their bodies. So their writing. So Egyptian writing is called hieroglyphs. And Egyptian writing, it was written on papyrus, which is a substance derived from the plant of the same name. So basically it comes from the papyrus plant, and they make paper, hence we get the word paper from this word, P-A-P-Y-R, paper, papyrus, but they just kind of molded it eventually to what we call it today, paper. I mean, we get our paper from trees today, not a papyrus plant, but we don't call it like treeper or something like that. Treer, I don't know what we would call it, but we don't, because the first version of paper was with a papyrus plant. So that was their writing. So make sure you have something written down for Egyptian writing, hieroglyphs, or you can write that was on papyrus plant. So here is some carvings out of their writing. They use mostly pictures. That's what hieroglyphs are, is basically picture writing. They were really good at it. Here's some more, it's kind of fuzzy, but here's some more hieroglyphs right here, plus some art form. And they were known for their two-dimensional, side art form that they had. It's very unique to Egyptian art. So trading and farming with Egyptians, they relied heavily on farming. Farming was their number one thing, and how to get what they need. But they did do some trading with Mesopotamians and sometimes Indus Valley civilization, but mostly it's mostly a traditional type economy, meaning that they rely on farming mostly. So go ahead and fill that out for Egyptian trading and farming. Mostly farming, some trade though. While you guys are finishing that, they have a lost city from ancient Egypt. So in Nubia, the Egyptians called them the Kush. The Kush was comparable with Egypt, meaning the size. And both states communicated with each other constantly. Today, we do not hear of Nubia nor Kush. In its place is northern Sudan. So it's a country kind of in the middle of just under Egypt, basically, in Africa. With the construction of the Aswan Dam, High Dam in the 1960s, Nubian land was flooded, and that forced some 100,000 Nubians to seek new homes in Egyptian and Sudanese cities. So it has been lost because it has been flooded. So it's gone. The civilization is gone. Well, the city is there, but it's underwater. The Indus Valley civilization. These guys are still pretty much a mystery to us. We don't know a lot about these guys. But one thing that we do know was an awesome invention or technology they had. You can see right here, they built brick walls. And they did that to protect against flooding because they had low elevation. So that's kind of a cool invention that they had, was the brick walls. Here's a map. Here we've got the Indian Ocean right here. And here's India. And here's the entirety of the Indus River or Indus Valley civilization. We've got Egypt over here, China over here, Mesopotamian right there. So here's some artifacts that were found in the Indus Valley civilization. They lost their leg. Trading and farming in the Indus Valley civilization. They were, just like the Egyptians, they were mostly farmers. They did do some trading, but mostly farmers. Guys, doing okay, or am I going too fast for you?
You're going okay.
Okay. All right. Their writing, we still can't decipher their writing. So like the thing that you want to write about it for writing for the Indus Valley is that we can't decipher their writing. You can write that or type that. But what they did is they used seals, or basically like, structures with shapes to make the impressions on the material like clay. So that's what they did, but we can't decipher it. We have no idea what they wrote. They wrote something and maybe it was good. We don't know what it was about. So they used a material like clay. Again, another civilization has used clay. But yeah, we just can't decipher it. We don't know what it means. Ancient China. Ancient China. Sometimes people call it the Yellow River civilization, but we're just gonna call it ancient China. So they're known for the Great Wall. They began in 2000 BC. They're known for lots of dynasties, like multiple dynasties that they just go around and around. We'll talk about that in a second. But an invention that they're known for as well is silk. Silkworms comes from China. So silk products, they come from China. So that's one invention that you can write down if you want to for silk. Here's a picture. It's kind of even just showing like one of the earlier dynasties was this orange area. Then as the next dynasty, it expanded its lands. The next dynasty, it expanded its lands. Then the next dynasty, it expanded its lands. And there's other dynasties that the lands have shrunk. So, but basically in this area is the ancient China. It's called the Yellow River because this is the Yellow Sea, and the river systems are called the Yellow Rivers. Okay, so this is a dynastic cycle. This is what I was talking about, how they were known for like going through multiple dynasties, is because they would start with a powerful leader, and then we have lots of awesome times, good, glory and roads, and people are happy. And then things start happening to cause things to get hard, whatever it is, things are declining. And then the leader loses the mandate of heaven, which means that their God doesn't believe in the leader anymore. So then it's overthrown by someone who is given this mandate of heaven, or this like belief that God wants them to be the ruler, the new emperor. And then you have then they have a new dynasty that starts, and then it's great, and then things happen and things go bad, and then they lose that mandate of heaven, and then you have dynasty overthrown and rebellion, and then you have a new leader comes up, and it just goes around and around and around and around, and that's how it goes many times. So they are most known for their multiple dynasties, just because it just goes all the time, and it just never really stopped until recently, really very recently in world history. Another invention that they're known for is their astronomy. So you could talk about that for the invention down at the bottom if you want. You have, as early as 2137 BC, you have records of the earliest known solar eclipse in Earth, or in the world. So that's cool. Like, they talk about Jupiter's orbit, it's 12 years. They talk about solar and lunar eclipses, solar variation. They divide the sky into 28 regions because of the stars, and they talk, spring equinox and solar eclipse. Like, it's really cool. They are basically the first ones to discover astronomy, and they have a lot of writings about astronomy. So we understand a lot about it because of them and because of the Mayans, but we'll talk about them later. So their writing, they are the first one actually to create paper using that papyrus plant, the first civilization to use paper. And this is a typo, so if you're writing the year, you don't have to write the year. But if you wanted to write the year, it's 2000 BC. That was a typo. But so their writing, they wrote on paper from the papyrus plant. So that's what you can write for writing. Here's a picture of just them creating this papyrus plant. They would get the plant, they would break it down. Here's a stick that they would use to, mash up the fibers, put some other things in it. They would have this to lay flat. Then they would, heat it up, let it dry, and then they would roll it up into scrolls, basically. So it's pretty cool. It's like an actual, it's a process from a papyrus plant to paper. Here's some pictures of, the irrigation system that they had in their fields. And then, a typical temple building or important social person. And then just a pretty picture there in China. They're also known, of course, we talked about this before, the Great Wall of China. They built this Great Wall of China in order to keep the Mongols out, because the Mongols just kept invading and invading and invading. Do you guys remember that? If you remember that video we watched of the history of the world, I guess, where it was like the whole history of the world in that video, and it was kind of funny how they'd had the Great Wall and the Mongols kept trying to, break in and trying to invade and get money and pillage, and they did a lot of times. So they built this wall to keep them out, and it helped. It made it harder for them to get in, but they did still sometimes. But, people who died in making this wall, or died in battles when the wall was being built, they used their bodies as filler for the wall. So within these walls, there are bodies. This is their grave. So it's kind of like, oh my heck, there's bodies in there. So it's kind of cool. So you could talk about this as an invention technology if you want to, a big, huge wall to keep invaders out. Trade and farming for Chinese. They relied mostly on farming, so they're mostly farmers, but they did trade only within their own people. They didn't trade with other people. Rice was their major thing. They had rice fields everywhere. Even today, rice is a major staple in China. And that's just because it's like the perfect type of geography, the perfect climate there to produce rice. So rice fields, basically this would be water, and then you'd have the rice plants stick up, and they would collect the rice from the top of the stalks. But yeah, they would just be soaked in these rice fields. So this is the trading and farming, again, mostly farming, but they did trade only with themselves. They didn't really trade with outside civilizations. They want to keep to themselves, and that's how they've been for most of history, I think. Oh, we're getting close to time. Okay, Inca civilization. They're known for Machu Picchu, which is this right here, South America, and their road systems, which we're going to talk about. So here's the northern portion. The dark blue is the roads. And here's more roads down here, which right here. So their road systems, this is what they're most known for. And this is an invention technology you could talk about at the bottom too. Like they built roads. It's not just like a dirt path, but like they built roads. As you can see in this picture, there's actually like rocks placed down, flat rocks placed to build a road. So they had an amazing network of roads here. This road system was just amazing. And they are mostly known for that. They had a requirement among their people that you have to work for the government for a whole year. Every person has to work for the government for a year. And either if you're working for the government, you're either building roads or you're fighting in the army, you know, or you're working on government fields. So you have to spend a whole year of your life. Everybody does. So trading and farming, you know, it was a huge deal. They didn't trade with anybody else. They just, you know, traded within themselves. So basically just farming. I mean, families had their own farms, and you either worked in your family farm or you worked in the government farm. But farming, 100% farming was huge for the Inca. Sorry, my nose is really itchy today. So just write down families had their own farm because farm was big. That's all you need. So they didn't have writing. So you can write that they didn't have writing, but they did have math. So instead of writing in the writing section, you can write that they didn't have writing, but they did have math. They were really good with math. This is a picture of a quipu, which is basically strands, fiber strands, and they would tie knots into it to, you know, be their system of keeping track of things, keeping track of transactions and numbers of things. So other civilizations, they developed writing to keep track of transactions. These guys had math in that they used this device to keep track of the transactions. So no writing, but they did have math. So that's what you can write for the writing section for the Inca. Ancient Greece, birthplace of philosophy, you know, thinking about things, which is basically what philosophy is thinking about things. And they had great architecture. So this is an up close picture of Greece, all the different, you know, Sparta, Athens, Thebes. It's all ancient Greece. Here's the bottom part, goes into all these little islands here too, which this is its own country now, not part of Greece. So they're known for their Olympic Games, both basically like war games, fighting games. So trade and farming among the Greeks, they were heavily dependent on farming. That's starting to be a trend, isn't it? A lot of them are very dependent on farming. They did trade with a few other civilizations though. Phoenicians were part of Mesopotamia, part of the larger Mesopotamian family. Phonics, right? If you've ever heard of phonics before when you're learning how to read, you got that from the Phoenicians, you know, the alphabet. So for trade and farming, you just write that they're really just mostly dependent on farming. They're writing, just like the Indus Valley, we can't decipher it. We have no idea what they're writing about. We call it linear A. Don't ask me why they called it that. People are weird when they name things, but it hasn't been deciphered. So they're writing, we haven't been able to decipher it. We do know, like we have pictures of their writing, like here is a picture, it's on like a clay-like tablet, and you have lines and symbols, but Greek mythology, I'm gonna go fast through things that we don't need. Mayans, technology that or invention that they had was math and astronomy. You can also use the technology of hot chocolate, which is basically hot water and cocoa powder and chili powder. That just Sounds so good, doesn't it? It's basically here in Central America, right underneath Mexico. So their writing, they had hieroglyphic writing that they usually carved on stone or stucco or wood or pottery, basically anything that they can carve it on, they would carve it on. It was very structured, their writing was, but you only have to write like that they were hieroglyphic, which basically what hieroglyph means is it means picture writing. And I'll show you a picture of that in a second. Give you a second to type that down. So hieroglyphs basically for their writing. And again, just like other things, stone, clay, stucco, wood, just carve on anything that you can carve on. Here's pictures. Here's an actual tablet of their hieroglyphic writing. Here's their calendar. That's another invention you could talk about. The Mayans were the ones who invented the calendar. So we use that, 12 months of the year. Mayans were the ones who gave us the calendar. Trading and farming, heavily on farming. They did trade, but heavily relying on farming. They invented awesome farming techniques too. So they did the technique of slash and burn to re-fertilize the ground. They had raised beds, like you can see in this picture, how organized things are. So, I mean, they were really good at farming. So mostly farming for them as well. That's all you have to write really if you want to, mostly farming. Okay, so going back to this assignment real quick. So we answered that one. You guys should have all of these filled out in those boxes. What is a common theme among these civilizations in their writing? You could write, that they use shapes, or that they are carving on either like a clay or papyrus plant. That's another thing that's common. Or that the first writing was used to keep track of things. Like it wasn't just to tell stories, it was to keep track of things. That's how it began in those societies. So you can write that for a common theme. Oh, goodness, sorry. And then you should have all the farming and trading finished. And then what is the thing that I mentioned that is common among all of them, the farming, is most of them were more dependent on farming than trading. Most of them, if they did do trading, they did little. Some of them did do more trading than others, but all of them were like super dependent on farming. So that's what we can write for number 5. And then number 6 is just the technology that you were doing along the way. So do you guys have any questions as to that assignment?
No.
No.
Okay, once you have that completely filled in, make sure you hit submit it. And then just to remind you what you're gonna do for the rest of the week, here's your study notes for the quiz, which is stuff that we talked about today and yesterday, and then stuff in this essay, okay? So this is the essay assignment. This is 3 paragraphs is all. And then you're gonna do your quiz, which you guys have only one of them. You guys should only see one available to you, but the other one you won't be able to see. So you guys have ancient civilizations. Oh, I should probably publish it. Now it's published, now you'll be able to see it. So you guys gotta do all those by the end of the week. So any questions?
No.
All right, let me know if you guys do, okay? Send me an email anytime, all right?
See ya.
Okay.
Okay, see you guys later.
See ya.